Hey, listen, the main thing I want this podcast to be about, okay, is about us being friends, all right, and we fucking love.
All right. Welcome to Brotherhood Podcast.
Welcome.
We are short two people tonight, but the show must go on.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
and our quote of the day comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 2. I'm reading from the New King James Version. When pride comes, then comes shame, but with the humble is wisdom. And you know what they say? Well, also from the Bible, pride cometh before the fall. So, you know,
If
but when
if
you're
I may
humble,
say, you finished, man?
yeah, be humble.
My, mm, if I may say so myself, that was a sexy quote of the day. A nice little jewel,
A nice little what?
jewel.
Oh, a jewel, yeah.
Yeah, dropping knowledge,
All day, man. This is what you got to do.
right?
Um,
I see. Did you put new pictures in the beginning, man?
no, that was the one from before, the one I made
Oh,
last
okay.
year. I do got to make a new one though.
I don't remember you having a red shirt on.
It was I think that was the red sweater I wore for the Christmas
Oh,
one two like over a year and a half ago.
oh,
It's all good, or a
you
year
know I
ago.
got
Yeah,
brain damage.
it's all good. Homie, you want some candy? We all got
Mm.
brain damage. So yeah, a couple things going on. The first thing I wanted to talk about tonight, in case you guys didn't see, Governor Greg Abbott. Uh, well, actually, with everything going on at the border, you guys have seen the border of Texas. Um, there was I forget what the name of the park was, where the National Guard set up a base by the Rio Grande, and they set up the razor wire, and a bunch of shipping containers and stuff as to be a border, uh, so people couldn't get through this section of the border of the United States, and they pretty much doubled down. Um, the United States federal government decided to send in federal agents, which the National Guard decided to turn away, um, because it was their intention to go in and tear down the razor wire that the National Guard had set up. So they turned away all the federal agents that President Biden had sent down there. Here we have a letter from Governor Greg Abbott. He sent to the people of Texas and pretty much, the United States, letting them know. We have here, this was January 24th, so 2 days ago. The federal government had, this is Greg Abbott, Governor Greg Abbott. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand that he perform his constitutional duties. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States. By wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas's border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal entry points along the state's southern border, bridges where nobody drowns, and into the dangerous waters of the Rio Grande. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. That is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 4, Section 4, which promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. The failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the state the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure the Texas border. Signed by Greg Abbott, January 24th. So, yeah. People are trying to say that this is going to be like some kind of like civil war is going to break out. You know what I mean? Between, the federal government and the National Guard and, the Texas Department of Public Safety and stuff. I don't know. What do you think, man? What are your thoughts? Do you think it's possible a civil war could break out?
If they keep pushing them, Biden handlers seem stupid enough to let it happen. But I hope not, man. This country is already divided enough, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, first it was what Affordable Care Act. Are we on YouTube?
Yeah.
I didn't get a what's the name on my phone?
Why do they always do this, yo? They always set it to
I
they always
caught
set it to
myself out. I was about to start speaking the truth.
All right, we're live. It's live. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like he just want to divide everybody, man. It seems like Biden wants to make this country weak. And what's the best way to weaken a country or anything? Put everybody against each other.
It's true.
But I don't understand why. Like, what is their plan? What is that end result that they want?
Yeah, I don't really understand like a complete and total power subjugation of the population of the United States of America. I mean, even they have people over their head, you know what I mean? They like to pretend like they don't, but they do. And complete and total subjugation of the United States is more than likely the end goal. And I mean, it's no secret. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's not even a secret anymore. And I'm just like, well, But yeah, so now that we're completely live, I did want to reiterate my points, or my uh, the conversation, or the what I was reading, the letter to that Greg Abbott
Mm-hmm.
wrote, and it was basically saying, because of President Biden and the Biden administration has failed to uphold its constitutional, the executive branch has failed to pretty much um, execute its duties,
Mm-hmm.
faithfully execute their duties with immigration laws and national security. Texas has taken it upon itself to secure the border because this administration will not do so. They tried to send federal agents in to remove the razor wire and the border infrastructure, to which the National Guard turned them away from the area of the Rio Grande that they set up set up these border, the tricons, the shipping containers, whatever, with the razor wire on top. And so the point that Governor Abbott was trying to make was that, you know that the failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the state the right of self defense. And uh, Governor Abbott has already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. It says that or Governor Abbott said that authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure Texas's border, or to secure the Texas border. So, if the federal government's not going to do it, they're not going to send aid, then it's up to us to do it. And if they're literally going to come in here and try to tear down, borders, makeshift borders, and to continue this ridiculous, just open border fiasco, then
Mm-hmm.
the people of Texas are just not going to take it. And many other
Right.
states saw that Texas needed aid because
Mm-hmm.
the border of Texas is
They said,
so huge, and
mm-hmm.
so they
They
were just
said
like, no,
25.
we can't put it up anymore. I mean, we can't put up with this anymore, and people are suffering. Fentanyl, drugs, uh, and
Mm-hmm.
and other drugs and stuff, and criminals are entering into the United States, and we care. The Texas government, the state government cares more about its people than you could say that the federal government cares about the people living in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Because if their entire MO, their operation, their their mission is to come down here and tear down borders. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of like how are people going to support this kind of administration when you're putting United States citizens at risk? So
So if they want people to come in, why don't they, you know, why don't they tear down, the borders around the White House? You know what I mean?
yeah, let people into the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let them
They
all
come
in.
and go as they please. Let the immigrants do it.
Yeah, let them all go in. Yeah, just
You know
whatever.
what I mean?
Go ahead.
Why did they get mad when they sent them there?
It's okay if they come to Texas because we're Republican. We're a red state.
Hmm.
You know what I
But
mean?
why did they get mad when they were sending them up there?
Yeah, when we sent them to New York and DC, now it's a big deal. Now it's a big deal because
Hmm.
oh, we can't be having this. There's not enough support. Well,
Right.
you thought that Texas had enough support to support 3 million people coming into the United States through Texas in 3 years?
Hmm.
That's a million people per year coming into the United States, and you just automatically assumed that they were all going to be, you know, we're going to do all this stuff for them. I mean, and you see it in a bunch of other states. They've sent so many other how they say that they come across the border and then they get a free plane or a bus ticket to anywhere they want in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And um, they have
We
uh,
don't
they have a
even get
court
that.
date. They have a court date. They have to appear for their citizenship. Uh, and apparently, 9 times out of 10, these people don't show up to their court dates. So not only are they illegally living in the United States, but they're also being given money off the taxpayers' dollars for healthcare, other subsidies that include like some sort of like basic income, like those checks, just ran. So just here's free money,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they're able to work in the United States under the table. No, they don't have to pay taxes. And there's a lot of this going on in the country, not just Texas, but you'll find this in a lot of blue states where there are sanctuary cities.
Mm-hmm.
So where did I put my notes? I don't know, but I had some notes. It was about a law passed in Arizona in 2010, similar to what uh, Governor Abbott was doing, that allowed the state, the police force, to check if somebody was a citizen. Like, let's say they pulled somebody over, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
or they come into contact with somebody and all that, that they are legally authorized to identify. Then they are required to make sure they are citizens. This is in Arizona.
Why, why not? We are legally required to show that we have a license or an ID when we're walking on the street.
Because that's like I think it's that's a Fourth Amendment violation
But
to just unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. That's a Fourth Amendment violation. To just, like, if a cop just randomly walks up to somebody, they can't identify you. Apparently, they can't, know the constitution. It's like unconstitutional. Um,
mm-hmm.
would find you liable for those charges if you failed to identify in a state that was technically considered a stop and ID state. But in a
Mm-hmm.
federal court, it would not. It would not hold up. But yeah, so basically the whole thing was geared towards, people in Arizona, um, like turning the power of like ICE over to the police force, state troopers, making sure people who are in the state of Arizona are not illegal immigrants. They're not working in the state if they're not authorized to. And like requiring police officers to make sure, like they had to make sure that their visa status or their citizenship status was, when they had to identify an individual. Um, and so, uh, and so you kind of saw the same kind of thing happening here in Texas, where uh, they wanted the police force to also do the same thing here, because basically ICE was dismantled. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, I got no issues with people coming into the United States, but if they come through the port of entry and do it legally, and I'm not, I mean, I'm gonna, it could be better. You know what I mean? The process of people becoming citizens, but there's a reason why it takes so long, and that's because everybody wants to come to America. So it's like, oh, so much backlog. You know what I mean? So many people are on backlog because everybody wants to come here because we're the best. You know what I mean? So, um, I mean, and there's probably a bunch of other reasons why it takes so long. The vetting process, and digging into people's like history and stuff to make sure they're not like criminals, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. We probably some different kinds of like agreements we have with the Mexican government, or any other country, in in North America or South America, um, or maybe just across the globe when people come through a port of entry and become citizens. You know what I mean? Where we have access to their records to make sure that they are, you know, they're not gonna be
Mhm.
hostile or like violent or criminals when they become citizens of the United States.
Mhm. And another thing they don't talk about is the diseases, man. A lot of these people don't have immunizations and everything else.
Yeah, I mean that's true too. I mean they do.
They
A
they
lot of
didn't
the
have
vaccines we
they
get, they
didn't
don't get.
they didn't have to get the oh, never mind. I was about to, you know, we saved that for another day.
Yeah, when everybody else is here.
Yeah. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, but when they came through the country illegally, they were basically given it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I know you remember that when they were coming through the country the past couple years,
Mhm.
like 2020, 2021, 22, they were given that uh, injection. They were
Mhm.
given that when they crossed the border before they were released into the country.
But what about the ones that don't? They just sneak in, and you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean those, yeah, but the people who were detained by border agents, you
Mhm.
know what I mean, like federal agents, yeah.
Mhm. I told
I
somebody
doubt
that
that they would do it. Huh?
some. I told somebody some of these foreign countries still got the Black Plague, right?
Yeah,
And they called me a liar. But it's true.
it is true. Yeah, there's a lot of viruses that are that we have vaccinations for that are not that are those vaccinations aren't given to people in other
Hmm.
countries.
And then some of them could have a super virus or something, and that they don't immunize for, and it just turned into this crazy, mutated so many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yo.
Imagine smallpox.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Or um, I think we could talk about this like uh the bird flu.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah, you remember swine flu?
Yeah, one that H1N1.
Yeah, H1N1. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was like 2009, 2010.
Uh huh.
I was still in high school, man. I was like ninth or 10th grade.
Mhm. Mhm.
The
Stuff like that,
swine
man.
flu. What the heck? Yeah, but Obama was president, so
Mhm.
it wasn't a big deal.
Right. It jumped from birds to humans and then pigs to humans. You know what I mean?
And apparently, or allegedly bats to humans.
Yeah. Right. It's a crazy world we living in, man.
For real, yo. It is a crazy world.
you know, um, what's that other disease people could get from bats? From their shit. Is it the hantavirus?
The hunter?
Hanta hantavirus. Or it's a virus like that they can get from bat guano.
Guano. Orthohantavirus is a genus of single-stranded enveloped negative sense RNA viruses in the family Hantaviridae within the order Bunniavirales. Member of this genus may be called the. Okay.
You can get it from background, all right?
Associated with bats, and
Mm.
bats have been described in Asian, European, and Brazilian species of bats. Hantaviruses.
Damn, bats are fucking up humans, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's wild, bro. But
Right?
could you imagine, man, the first person to get like the virus, it's probably
Mm-hmm.
the most like docile strain of the virus. And then by the time
Mm-hmm.
it passes through millions of people, it's so much more
Mm-hmm.
aggressive.
Imagine Ebola, man. I was hearing
Oh,
people was getting Ebola vaccinations, man,
yeah,
just
back
in
in
case. Now, recently.
so when I was stationed in New York, all right,
Mm-hmm.
there was a I think it was 2014, 2013 or 14 when I went to Delta Company. There was like all this word to talk about, like, hey, we're gonna there's like stuff going on in Africa, so we're being put on alert for to be deployed to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And the first sergeant made a joke. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to Africa to fight Ebola," because that's when Ebola was like really big in
Yeah,
Africa, where AFRICOM,
yeah.
the area where the section of the United States military that was in that was
Yeah,
stationed in Africa, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna go fight Ebola.
yeah. Just shoot it with a 9 millimeter, man. You blow his lungs out.
Dude, you know how many millions of those little viruses probably die when you shoot a gun?
Right? Cause 9 millimeter is like a death ray. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it pretty much is a death ray to like a virus.
Mm-hmm. Just take it off stun. You know what I mean? Put it on kill. Take it off stun.
I set my lasers from stun to kill. I set my lasers from stun to kill.
Dun dun
You remember that?
dun.
You remember that? What's that show called? With that show with it's called Forged in the Fire. Forged in the Fire.
Forge of fire.
Forged
The
in the
knife.
Fire.
I thought it was forge of
It's called
fire.
Forged in the Fire. It's
Oh,
where they
okay.
make it's a competition
The
where
knife.
where
I
they
know
make
what
the
you're talking about.
knives and swords and
No,
stuff.
it's forged. What did you say it is?
Forged in or
Forged
Forged
in
in
fire.
Fire. Forged in
Yeah.
Fire. And there's like a meme about that guy.
It will kill.
Yeah, it will kill. It's
I
like
can't
it's
think of
so
his
funny
name.
because he says keel.
Hmm. I can't think of his
For,
name, man. Is it Danny?
it's it's Doug Marcada.
Yeah, Malkaida.
Yeah,
He is a
whatever his name.
he is a trained. He is deadly with a knife.
He really is, dude. He's like
Yeah.
got like doesn't he have like a couple black belts or something?
I don't know, man. I know he's crazy. He's not to be messed with a knife, man.
He's a what is it?
I think
Edged weapon expert.
yeah. I think he could bring a knife to a gunfight and definitely win, man.
It will kill. Edged edge impact weapons specialist.
He is no joke, man.
Cali, Cali, Kali Martial Arts. Yeah, he's a really talented martial artist. He's like pretty up there. But
Hmm.
yeah, he knows his stuff, man.
Yeah, he's humble too, man.
He's like one of the nicest judges they have on there
Hmm.
too. He's like
I guess.
it will
Hmm.
kill. Yeah,
I
he's
guess
like the
you know.
kindest of all three judges.
Yeah, I guess what martial arts training and fighting, it makes you humble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, because a lot of those martial arts they teach this kind of like principle that's like
Discipline.
like along well yeah discipline, but it's like more or less along the lines of never use your skills unless you have to. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's better
Yeah.
not to fight than it is to go out finding a fight. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's better to just stay humble and avoid fighting, but you have
Hmm.
the skill in case it's absolutely necessary.
Hmm. Did you ever realize the most dangerous people are the nicest people?
Yeah, for real, man.
Yeah, and for a lot of those people, you know, as much kindness and as nice as they are and that they put out, they can put out as much chaos and damage too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't understand that. They take people kindness for a weakness.
Never take somebody's kindness for weakness, man. Never.
Hmm. Right,
Because
because
they
it
could
could
be the
turn real
softest
quick.
bear, the softest little bear on earth, but they could be
Hmm.
deadly, devastating,
Hmm.
and they could wreck your grill in a minute.
Yeah, that's what I realized, man. The nicest people are the most dangerous ones.
Yeah, man. It's so cool, man. Though, but it's a such an awesome show, man. I love watching that show. Every time I go to my brother's house, T, he they usually have it playing. Um,
Hmm.
him and his wife love to watch that show, and every time I go over there, it's playing on the TV. So we like to sit and watch that one. So
Hmm. Do they still make new episodes?
um, yeah, I think so. I'm not sure, but was History Channel, right?
Hmm.
They created a channel. So if you go to like smart TVs and stuff, they have a
Hmm.
special channel that is basically 24/7 forged in the fire nonstop. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously there's like ads and stuff, but
Yeah, of course.
you can watch Forged in the Fire 24/7 without any other like
Hmm.
shows. It's so freaking cool, man.
It,
Or
it was some
Forged into.
spin-offs of it too, man.
Were they any good? Do you remember what they were called?
Mm. It was this one knife and it was this one where people would come in with knives that they made or brought, and they would go through like this competition of cutting like rope and bucket and everything. It was called knife something. I cannot think of it, man.
There
It had
is
Goldberg. It had
Big
Goldberg
Giant,
as
huh?
Goldberg was in it. He was a host of it.
Oh,
Goldberg.
you're talking about Knife or Death, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's called Forged in the Fire, Knife or Death.
yeah.
Yeah, good old Goldberg.
Hmm. The Hammer. You remember they called him the Hammer, and
Hemeka
what was
Schlema.
that prison? Huh?
Nothing, go ahead.
Now, what was the name of that movie where he was in prison? The Longest Yard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. with
A
Adam
hammer.
Sandler.
Yeah.
That was such a funny movie, man. You remember
Yeah,
what
it
was his
was.
name? His name was Back Dimples or whatever.
Yeah.
You remember that
Yeah.
Spanish dude?
Yeah, the one that was acting like he hated gay people, but yeah, he was messing with them. And Tracy Morgan was in it.
Yeah, Tracy Morgan. That was his name. Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And that dude, the great Khali
hmm And
and Bob Sapp.
yeah, Bob Sapp was in there too.
Bro, one of my favorite actors. I mean, besides Terry Crews being in there, uh,
hmm
was William Fitchner. You remember him?
Who was he?
Remember William Fitchner? He played in Prison Break. He was the FBI agent, Agent Mahomes or Mahone.
It's been
Sorry,
it, it's been so long, man. Oh yeah, him.
Agent Mahone. Yeah, he was an
hmm
FBI agent, man. And
Yeah.
he played such a good role in Prison Break.
hmm
But yeah, yo, The Longest Yard was such a funny movie. Here's the cast of that movie: Burt Reynolds, Adam Sandler, Chris. Good
I
old Burt
forgot Joe
Reynolds.
Diaz was in there, man. And I forgot Nelly was in there too.
Steve Austin.
Yeah, Steve Austin was a racist cop, wasn't he?
I forgot. Yeah, he was the racist guy. Yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah. That
Joey
Bob Sapp hit
Diaz,
and made him shit himself.
dude. Kevin Nash. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yo.
I think he shit himself.
Remember when what's this guy's name again? Remember when the great Khali broke Bob Sapp's nose?
Yeah. I
He
think he
broke
broke it
did
in my
my nose.
nose. He broke it in my nose. Burt Reynolds was? Oh yeah, Burt Reynolds was in it.
He was the coach.
Yeah.
Rob Schneider was always doing that. You can do it.
Yeah.
Like all of those Happy Madison movies.
hmm I don't know Rob Schneider, and I never met him, but a lot of people say he's a dick face. But I don't know him, so I can't judge him.
There's a video of him. He came to San Antonio and he was like hanging out with people and stuff and taking pictures, and everybody was like, "Yeah, he's such a nice guy." I
Mhm.
mean, not Rob Schneider. What's his name? Adam Sandler. But
Mm.
Rob Schneider, have you seen his videos? Apparently, he's a Christian now.
Yeah, I think you showed. I think you showed some to me.
Like he like really, I don't know what happened. He probably had a crazy encounter with God or something, man.
hmm
But like, check this out. I'll play this little YouTube short for you. It's like part of the interview, but yeah.
Beautiful thing. He said, look, Jesus already won. This is just the mop-up mission. So have faith. Faith is just an openness. It's in the difference between belief. Belief is that fundamentalism. Belief come from the word Anglo, leaf, is a willfulness to, it's like, I want the world to be this way, and this is the right way. It's just, man, no, it's got to fit into that. And that is the opposite. It precludes the possibility of faith to take a small child, a young girl, and a young boy, and think that that they were given the wrong body. Say that to Jesus. Say that to God. God, you made a wrong body. I don't think he's going to answer, yeah, I did. He's going to know I made it. They're all perfect in their own way. I think we have to come from a place of love. We have to come from a place of God.
I think he's absolutely right here. God.
Isn't that crazy, dude? Like to see somebody like him, multimillionaire, Hollywood actor. I'm pretty sure he had his hand dealt in the Happy Madison, film production company, and all a bunch of other films and stuff. Pretty sure he helped direct a bunch of movies. But yeah, to see like you're seeing a trend of Hollywood actors who have everything they could have ever wanted and imagined, and turn to God because they have
But
everything they ever want in this world that normal people would want, except they're still empty. They're still broken. They're still struggling. There's something they're missing. and they have no idea what it is. And then they have an encounter with Jesus, and it completely flips their world. It tips it on their head, dude. It flips their world upside down.
But did they really?
I mean, that's between them and God, man. I mean,
I'm messing with you.
it's a YouTube short. It's a YouTube video. You can take it how you want, but to see
playing, man.
them, but to see them openly talk
Yeah.
about that in public, and
Mhm.
they know people are going to see it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That video itself has 32,000 likes. I don't know how many views it has because it doesn't show the YouTube short views on here for some reason. But to see somebody, world-renowned actor like Rob Schneider talking about Jesus and talking about such a crazy fringe topic like, okay, people are like, oh, I was born the wrong gender, like Rob Schneider was talking about.
Mhm.
Tell that to God. Tell God you were born the wrong gender. He's not going to say, no, I made you perfect just the way you are.
Mhm.
And to that kind of, as you know, that topic is such a huge issue now in the United States.
Mhm.
Not really probably across the globe, but in the United
Mhm.
States and, Canada, probably, maybe parts of the UK.
But they still can be saved though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not without their salvation is
Yep.
their salvation is nigh. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's definitely possible.
So whenever they're willing, God is willing.
Yeah, I mean, the book of Revelation, behold, I stand at the door and knock.
Mhm.
The verse is Revelation chapter 30 or Revelation chapter 3 verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and I will sup with him and he with me.
Mhm.
So, God's always there, man. He's just waiting for people to answer the call.
Mhm. Like even though I'm not a model Christian and everything, I still talk to God and everything, and like He just keep on blessing me, man.
Yo, Rob.
Yo.
Yeah, so like you were saying, the Bible says to serve God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength,
Mhm.
but God is still faithful to protect us.
Yeah.
He's still faithful to feed
Mhm.
us, to give us clothing, a shelter,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Give us, these basic
Mhm.
necessities, even though we don't necessarily serve him with all that we have. But, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things shall be added unto you. So
Mhm. The ball's in your court or their court.
serve God. Yep.
I've seen the glory of God before.
He's the
God is.
one looking after you. He's the one
Yep.
protecting and providing. So why not, give him a little bit of time,
Mhm.
every day to
God is
worship
good,
him,
man.
to pray to him, to read his word, to learn, you
Mhm.
know. It's
Like I said, God is good.
all the time. Um with that being said, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go use the bathroom and then I'll be right back to continue the podcast. So
The
I'm gonna
beaver.
go ahead and put on some winter lo-fi, and then I'll be back.
Mhm.
Okay. Ah, beautiful. Okay. So here we are. The monkey's chain. The monkey's fist. The monkey. All right, we're back. Just waiting on Rob to come back, and then we got some stuff we can look at. I do have a video I do want to show. It's on Instagram. So we just gonna wait on Rob. And then I will go ahead and show you guys the video. In the meantime, I can show you guys that Yada means. Oh, look who's back.
I'm back like I left something.
All right. Welcome back. There was a post I wanted to show you, and then we can get into the next topic of discussion.
The
Here
nitty-gritty.
is, yes, the gritty. Show me your best gritty. All right, here's a video of John Harbaugh, the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Just listen to what he has to say about God.
Right? 500 years from now, none of us are going to be around. 500 years from now, none of us were here. So we're given this time with these people in this place for a purpose. And there's December, and the time is December. And December football has a meaning to it. All right, it's preparation for great events to come. And you got to put yourself in position with December football for what's to come. It's also the Advent season. Advent comes from the Latin adventos, which means anticipation and preparation for an amazing event, which is the coming of our Savior and celebrating the Christ. All right, the good news that changes the world and changes it for all eternity.
You're preparing for the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Hit that follow or subscribe button for daily Christian content. Listen to what the Baltimore Ravens have.
Isn't that wild, bro?
Mm-hmm. He took that time to talk about God, man. You know, he could have said anything.
He literally could have said anything.
He could have said about, talked about the team and everything. Well, he probably did, but you know what I mean?
Matthew chapter 10, verse 32. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him I will confess also before my Father who is in heaven.
Mm.
How about that? You talk about God. You talk about God, the people on earth, the
Mm-hmm.
God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jesus will say our names before God in heaven. Isn't that wild? Thank you, Gnarly Neff. Thank you.
You know, imagine when God says your name and the people up there that's waiting on you to go home. You know what I mean? They hear your name.
Yeah, man, a cloud of witnesses, bruh.
You know what I mean?
They up there, they're just like, bruh. Because you never know what they like, the people who are living in heaven. You never know what their experience is. Number one, because that heaven, the heavenly realm is, we're not meant to like know, to see, the throne room. We're not meant to know like the greater things of God. We're not meant to know that. But because also because we don't know the people who are experiencing heaven right now, what
Mm-hmm.
their kind of interaction or experience with things happening on earth is, because
Well,
we don't know if people in heaven get to watch events unfold on earth. We don't get to know if the people in heaven are even thinking about what's happening on earth, or if they're just completely in awe of being in the presence of God, 24/7.
I think they're looking over us, man, because I called on a few of my, people in my family that passed, and when I did it, and I asked them to help me with stuff, it actually went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I think they're up there looking down on us, like, all right, I'm gonna help you when I can. I can't do it all the time, but I'm gonna help you when I can. I'm gonna help you when you need it, not when you want it. You know what I mean, Josh?
I know what you mean. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they are allowed to do and what they are capable of. You know what I mean? In
Mhm.
heaven. So I
You
can't
know,
agree with you 100%, but
yeah.
I can't
But
also
what
deny
if
what you're saying 100%.
what if your loved ones, they do something and then God like, you weren't supposed to do that, right? And then you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Listen,
they
joking,
help somebody out.
joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You weren't supposed to do that, right? Yeah, I know, but he's like, all right.
I knew you
I
was
could
gonna do it
see,
anyway, but
yeah,
you weren't supposed to.
yeah. I could see they needed it. But God is
Yeah,
good,
man.
man.
All the time. So before we get into the WhatsApp videos and stuff, I did
Mm-hmm.
have I had a post I wanted to share with you. Um, there is a lawsuit against gun makers in the United States.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
this this was posted by BBC on the 23rd, so 3 days ago.
Big black cock?
No.
I'm going. British
What does it even mean?
Broadcasting Corporation.
British Broadcasting Corporation.
A wise
Um,
person must. A wise person once told me, if I want to know what's going on in America, you look at the news in another country.
well, I don't particularly trust the BBC either, but I guess you could say the BBC might be like the CNN of the UK. Who knows, man? I don't pay enough
I,
attention to that. But
I, me personally, what I do, I listen to them and see whatever, and then I research.
yeah, I research. I mean, I listen to like Sky News Australia and TV7 News Israel and stuff like that.
Because
But
every news channel has their own agenda, no matter what it is, man.
Well, you could say their own agenda, but you could also say the agenda of their donors, the people funding the whole entire news outlet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but
you could have
yeah, but
the CEO being uh, completely opposed, but because he's being funded by, or he or she is being funded by multimillionaires, billionaires, that
mhm.
they just go ahead with this kind of narrative because they don't want to stop getting, the bills paid, the lights,
Yeah,
keep
but
running. You know what I mean? The water
that
bills
still
paid, the
yeah
gas and
that
electric.
that still makes it their agenda though.
It doesn't make it their agenda. It just makes it so they keep getting money. I mean, some people are more concerned with money than they are an agenda.
I see it as black and white. You see a gray area.
I do see a gray area for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, if they are going so far, you know, to throw their complete moral compass out to keep the lights on, then I guess you could say, yeah, it's their agenda.
I feel you, Josh. I feel you, man. I feel you.
But so there's a $10 billion lawsuit happening.
Yo, my fault, Josh.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I got you though. I feel you. You right. You right. You right.
People are complex, man.
Yeah, I got you. I got you, man. I got you.
So that there is so the U.S. appeals court revives Mexico's $10 billion lawsuit against gun makers.
Mm,
Um, so there was a lawsuit that was filed years ago,
mhm.
and it was
Yeah,
dismissed. An
yeah,
appeal
because it was
appeal from the Mexican government. It was a lawsuit from the Mexican government against a handful of uh, U.S. gun manufacturers such as
mhm,
Smith and Wesson, Glock, Beretta, Barrett, Sturm, and Ruger. Um,
mhm,
and so the Mexican authorities allege that tens of thousands of U.S. manufactured guns are trafficked south across the border each year, providing drug cartels with easy access to massive arsenals used to
mhm,
fight each other and the Mexican government. Some
mhm,
estimates some estimates put the total at over 500,000 weapons each year.
mm,
More than
mhm,
30,000 people were murdered in last year in Mexico,
mhm.
which has extremely restrictive gun laws. The
Yeah.
country is home to only one gun shop housed in a Mexico City military complex.
Mm,
So the lawsuit was filed in 2021 and
yeah.
in a federal courthouse in Massachusetts.
Mhm.
And there's a handful of those gun companies that I just mentioned are based there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
um, and so the manufacturers knew that guns were being sold to traffickers, fueling violence in the country. But in
Mhm.
2022, a U.S. federal judge dismissed the case on the grounds that the gun manufacturers were protected by a 2005 law known as the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. The law, also
Mm,
known as PLCAA, shields gun
mhm.
makers from damages resulting from the criminal or unlawful misuse of their products.
Hold on.
Okay.
Uh,
Does that
okay.
not sound familiar to you?
Yeah. I got two things to say. Are we going to be able to sue Mexico for the drugs that come out of there? Not comparing guns to drugs, but but don't pharmaceutical companies have that same thing but not called that? But anyway, you know what I mean?
Pharmaceutical companies in the US do have this same kind of clause, or
Yes.
they're not held liable for.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
big
but
big
are we going to
well,
be
big
able
pharma.
to
I think big
if they
pharma
can
has
do
a
that?
lot more money than the gun manufacturers.
Yeah. But is America going to be able to sue them for the drugs that come in from Mexico and the cartels?
Of course not, dude.
Um,
Because like,
oh,
listen,
God
man. Put it
forbid that. Hmm.
well, but listen, dude. Put it this way, okay? If all right, and this can, you could take it how you want. It could make sense. It could not make sense. But put it this way: if the United States and Mexico had some kind of agreement, all right,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say this administration and the Mexican government said, like, hey, send over as many people as you can, and we'll pay for them. If you get us reelected, then we will send you this amount of money. We'll send you this amount of support,
Mm-hmm.
aid, whatever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
does that not make sense to you? Like, and on top of that, to help the Democrat Party or the left-leaning liberal party
Mm-hmm.
to remove weapons
Yeah.
from the United States citizenry,
Mm-hmm.
like, does that not make sense? Some kind of
Yeah.
agreement between the United States and Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Listen, you
because
know
the
who?
people coming from Mexico are ultimately going to vote in our elections.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just Mexican people and people from South America. You have people coming from
Mm-hmm.
all over the world that are crossing through the southern border of the United States.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
You know who didn't need campaign money?
President Donald J. Trump.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just saying.
So when it comes to this entire, like, this whole lawsuit, man, uh, it said, here we have on Monday, okay, so that would be the 22nd of January. The U.S. Appeals Court ruled that the Mexican lawsuit, quote, plausibly alleges a type of claim that is statutorily exempt from the PCLAA, which was the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
which only covers lawful gun sales. Mexican and gun control advocates in the U.S. claimed the ruling as a victory, with Mexican Foreign Minister Alicia Barcina calling it, quote, great news, end quote, on
Mm-hmm.
X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. In a
Mm-hmm.
statement, John Lowy, the president of Global Action on Gun Violence, who serves as Mexico's co-counsel on the case, said that the ruling is a huge step, quote, a huge step forward in holding the gun industry accountable for its contribution to gun violence and in stopping the flood of trafficked guns to the cartels, end quote. Um, Quote,
Mm-hmm.
not only did the court recognize the right of another country to sue U.S. gun companies, it also pierced the unfair legal shield that gun companies have been hiding behind since 2005, end quote, he added.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Were the makers of the rifles and everything that was left in the Middle East, if they kill people, will the gun makers be held accountable for that?
No, because they're attacking Israel.
Mm.
And I
Okay,
think
just checking.
I think this kind of administration, you know what? I don't even care. I don't care anymore. I think they are hiding behind this kind of facade that they support Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think they truly support Israel the way they do,
Mm-hmm.
or the way they say they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm,
I think
I'm,
the
I'm
the
just saying.
UN supports Israel more than the United States does.
No, could I'm just saying. You know, I guess not, because how many Americans was killed with those guns that was left in the Middle East? And how many allies was killed with those?
Yeah, it's true, man. I mean, how many tanks, how many helicopters, fighter jets,
Mm-hmm.
how much money did we leave behind? You know, how many
Right?
rifles, how many, I mean, the amount of like carelessness that went into the withdrawal from Afghanistan and all the
Mm-hmm.
and the bases that were the
Yeah.
outposts, the bases and everything from Afghanistan was kind of ridiculous because if a
Mm-hmm.
United States based a CONUS inside the continental United States, if one piece of hardware, like let's say uh, night vision goggles, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if one piece of if one night vision goggles, a monocular or whatever, binos, whatever, goes
Mm-hmm.
missing, they will shut down the entire base until that
Mhm.
one piece is found. And I'm not
Mhm.
talking about military personnel only. I'm talking about civilians. If you're a
Mhm.
civilian working on base who lives outside of base, you can't even leave. We're
Mhm.
talking about every person who
Yeah.
works on that base. They
Mhm.
are stuck until that piece of equipment is found.
Mhm.
And you only have so much time until you have to alert the base commander or the chain of command that
Yeah.
this piece of equipment is missing until they shut
Mhm.
the base down. And so to have all of that equipment, sensitive, secure equipment, go, let's just write it off the books and just leave it
Mhm.
there. Like to have all of that. And President Trump was saying, I would not have left one screw, one nut
Yeah.
or bolt. You know what I mean?
Equipment that we can't have as Americans.
Exactly. And they'll just give it away to terrorists for free.
How much ammo was in there, man? We know the rifles. How much ammo was over there?
For real, man. And how much more so now, too, man? Like, because the money, a lot of
Yeah.
money that was sent,
Yeah.
to help Gaza and eventually ended up in the
Listen.
hands of Hamas.
Because listen, the rifles is one thing, but you need ammo to feed them. So how much ammo was left over there?
Well, they you know what? They probably also get a lot of ammunition from China and Russia too, and Iran. They probably get a lot of munitions from those countries.
But yeah, if they left all those rifles and equipment and everything else over there, they had to leave ammo. It's no way.
Yeah, I mean,
There had to be surpluses
obviously,
of
yeah,
ammo over there,
they
huh?
probably left a ton of, yeah, they probably left a ton of ammunition behind, and so this is
Missiles,
yeah, missiles, grenades, rockets, RPGs, like all that
right?
stuff, man. Small arms, load 'em
Claymores, C4,
for real, man.
shotguns,
They probably left some of those bouncing Bettys around.
right?
That's what I don't
It just
understand.
they don't trust us with it, but they'll leave it over there.
For terrorists, you know what I mean? And here's the crazy part. Listen to this. They left it over there for them to use against us when we eventually have to go back to defend Israel. You know what I'm
I don't.
saying?
Yo, like,
Because
never
they're
mind.
redeploying people. They're deploying people over there.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden you have people
Listen.
in Western in the what is it, RC West or whatever,
Mhm.
the western portion of the Middle East who have
And I
to
don't.
we have to put up
Mhm.
with that. All the
And I don't
equipment.
want it to happen. But do you think they say how many American slugs got pulled out of people that got killed?
Of course they're not going to say that, dude. Of course they're not going to say that, especially if another skirmish pops off where American troops, like a large portion of the United States military, is
Mm-hmm.
deployed back to where we were.
Mm-hmm.
Of course they're not going to say that, man.
Exactly. Our forefathers are turning in their graves, man.
And you know what? And the crazy part is, even if we did go back over there, the rules of engagement are probably going to be much like the Obama administration, where we can't even fire on, the opposing force,
Mm-hmm.
but just because of the way the politics are.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and that's why I didn't understand. Like, I didn't.
But they they want to use the U.S. forces against us.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, and this is, and so what getting back to the whole the multi-billion-dollar lawsuit Mexico has against gun
Yeah, I'm
manufacturers.
sorry. I didn't mean to,
Um,
go on a tangent.
was it Smith and Wesson, Glock, Beretta, Barrett, Sturm, and Ruger? Um, you have you have gun manufacturers being held liable for things that happen at the hands of criminals. So why aren't car manufacturers being held liable for car accidents, or uh, why aren't manufacturers of baseball bats being held liable for deaths involving baseball bats? Or how about knife manufacturers for stabbings? You
No,
know what I mean? Like, this kind
how
of
about
lawsuit just would
pain?
not hold up in court. Any reasonable judge
Hmm.
who thinks logically and looks at the
Hmm.
laws would have to go against this multi-billion-dollar lawsuit, because it makes absolutely no sense when it comes to common sense.
Hmm.
Like, it's common sense. It's not
How about
the
big pharma?
object, it's the person using the object.
Hmm.
When
How
these
about big
companies
pharma?
sell these things to people,
Hmm.
and when it comes to firearms, they are
Hmm.
vetted, there are background checks and these things to help safeguard against illegal uses of firearms. But ultimately, because of the way crime is in the United States and countries abroad, that this kind of thing is inevitable. It's an eventuality. You know what I mean? As
Hmm.
sad as it is to say, the black market is a huge thing. And you
Hmm.
have people who are criminals getting their hands on these things.
Hmm.
That doesn't
Glock switches.
ultimately that does not ultimately mean that the manufacturer of the item should be held liable.
Hmm.
Go after the criminal. If you're so
Hmm.
concerned with the crime happening in Mexico, go after the criminals in the cartel in Mexico.
Hmm.
Don't go after the United States and the manufacturers of guns in the United States. Why don't you spend your money and your time going and investigating the people who are the cartels who are
Hmm.
taking thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
dollars from families to help them cross the border and
Yeah.
force them to be drug mules and
Hmm.
carry illegal items into the United States. Why don't you go after
Hmm.
them instead of going after innocent companies, innocent civilians, and try and somehow sway the United States government that it's not okay for civilians to own guns all of a sudden?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? What kind of nonsense is that? That's what
Can.
makes me think that the United States government and Mexico have some sort of agreement, like a
Hmm.
under table agreement, where it says
Yeah.
that, like,
Listen.
okay, you provide us the voters, we'll provide you this, quid pro quo
Hmm.
kind of thing. And I don't know what
Uh,
it is. Maybe we'll see in the future,
listen.
but it's
Listen.
yeah.
Can you look up the Fast and Furious? What's the name that Obama did with the ARs and everything going to the cartels?
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, you know what that was, right?
Nah.
When they put a bunch of guns out in Mexico to see where they go and send them to the cartels and everything, and then American what was it, border agents got killed by him.
Where they were like tracking weapons.
Yeah, ARs and everything, supposedly. I think they
Um,
called it the Fast and the Furious. It failed miserably.
If you receive a mandatory E-Verify bill only without legalization, are you planning to veto that bill? And second, on Fast and Furious, members of Congress and the government of Mexico are still waiting for answers. Are you planning to replace ATF leadership? And when can we expect the results of the current investigation?
On the second question, as you know, my Attorney General has made clear that he certainly would not have ordered gun running to be able to pass through into Mexico. Investigation is still pending. I'm not going to comment on a current investigation. I've made very clear my views that that would not be an appropriate step by the ATF, and we got to find out how that happened. As soon as the investigation is completed, I think appropriate actions will be taken. With respect to E-Verify, we need comprehensive immigration reform. I've said it before, I will say it again, I will say it next week, and I'll say it 6 months from now. We've got to have a system that makes sure that we uphold our tradition as a nation of laws, and that we also uphold our tradition as a nation of immigrants. And that means tough border security, going after employers that are illegally hiring and exploiting workers, making sure that we also have a pathway for legal status for those who are living in the shadows right now. We may not be able to get everything that I would like to see in a package, but we have to have a balanced package. E-Verify can be an important enforcement tool if it's not riddled with errors, if U.S. citizens are protected, because what I don't want is a situation in which employers are forced to set up a system that they can't be certain works. And we don't want to expose employers to the risk where they end up rejecting a qualified candidate for a job because the list says that that person's an illegal immigrant, and it turns out that the person isn't an illegal immigrant. That wouldn't be fair for the employee and would probably get the employer in trouble as well. So I think the goal right now is to let's continue to see if we can perfect the E-Verify system. Let's make sure that we have safeguards in place to prevent the kind of scenarios that I talked about. But let's also not lose sight of some of the other components to immigration reform. For example, making sure that DREAM Act kids who have grown up here in the United States, think of themselves as Americans.
Okay, he's not really talking about the Fast and Furious
He's
thing.
skating up. Yeah.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah.
But he said that would never happen. He didn't answer the question.
I just want to see what this is, because this was back when I wasn't really into politics, so I'm not 100% sure on it.
President Obama is making his first claim of executive privilege, insisting his attorney general does not have to turn over private memos and other documents on Fast and Furious, a bungled Arizona border operation, which, far from leading to a gun smuggling sting, flooded Mexican streets with hundreds of weapons, one of which may have killed a U.S. Border Patrol agent. A House panel's been seeking the documents for months.
Who knew about Fast and Furious? When did they know about it? And how high up did it go?
The administration has turned over thousands of pages after Holder first denied, then acknowledged Fast and Furious purposely let guns cross the border.
We have made to date available an unprecedented number of documents, really inconsistent with the way in which the Justice Department has looked at many of these matters in the past. We provided deliberative materials.
He sounds so what?
He sold his soul.
Yeah.
To the committee.
Mr. McHenry votes aye.
But still seeking thousands more, the committee's now cited Holder for contempt of Congress. It's Republicans saying the AG is stonewalling.
We must, as a committee, and I personally want to know, what is he hiding?
Democrats were quick to charge election year partisanship.
It shouldn't be a political witch hunt against the Attorney General of our country and our president.
The chance that Holder will be punished remains slim. Of the more than a dozen top officials cited for contempt of Congress in the last half century, only one ever went to trial. Meantime,
Yeah, I want to see, man. Okay, here's one.
Lucid Smart Eyewear. Power.
That is an advertisement, and we do not go with these ads.
Not at all.
We
You know
will
what
not
ad we do
endorse-
go with?
Well,
Pause
we
it real
don't,
quick.
and we do not endorse these advertisers. Go ahead.
You know what advertisers we do?
I do
People
know
with
one.
botanicals.
We do go with Be More Botanicals.
Yes. They have all your botanical needs.
What was Dimitri's?
I don't remember. So it don't matter. It's like I'm playing.
Yeah, remember?
I don't remember, man.
Remember, he always kept the holster on his desk.
Yeah. Well, he don't have it on that no more.
Well, we will get to that. But in the meantime, let's watch this video. An agent killed in Fast and Furious gun operation.
Storm that erupted today over an undercover government operation gone very wrong. It is called Fast and Furious. It was supposed to help in the crackdown on drug violence across the border in Mexico, but the operation was botched. A U.S. law enforcement agent killed, and Republicans in Congress say the Obama administration is trying to cover it up. And today, the president himself stepped in. Here's ABC's Jake Tapper.
President Obama today, for the first time, asserted executive privilege to shield Justice Department documents dealing with what's become known as the Fast and Furious scandal. The response from House Republicans was itself fast and furious.
The lack of transparency with respect to a dead Border Patrol agent is sickening. And this morning's threat of asserting executive privilege to maintain the veil of secrecy is even more sickening.
Fast and Furious began almost 3 years ago. The secret law enforcement program allowed criminals to buy guns so government agents could trace them to Mexican drug cartels. But blowback came, and it was tragic. The government lost track of hundreds of guns, which started showing up at crime scenes, including the site where U.S. border agent Brian Terry was murdered in December 2010. Initially, the Justice Department told Congress that they did not allow guns to flow into Mexico, but that was false. And months later, they took it back. The program was disbanded and disowned.
Did you see that? There was a 50 cal in there.
No, I didn't see that.
Look, it's
I
right.
see it.
It's right in the middle.
The Justice Department told Congress that they did not allow
I know it's not funny, but I'm just like, how do you lose track of a 50 cal, dude?
guns to flow.
Let alone 50 AK-47s.
They want to make them illegal for Americans to
Mexico,
get, or they tried.
I mean,
look at the Dracos.
The program was
bro.
disbanded and
AKs.
disowned. Attorney General Eric Holder has always denied knowing anything about the program, but for more than a year, House Republicans.
How does the oh my goodness, man, that's kind of ridiculous, man.
Eric Holder has always denied knowing the program was disbanded and disowned. Attorney General Eric Holder has always denied knowing anything about the program, but for more than a year, House Republicans have been pushing him to disclose what he and other officials knew and when they knew it.
No, Mr. Attorney General, you're not a good witness.
Democrats have called this a partisan witch hunt.
At some point, have you no shame, you know?
Pressure grew.
This is a big scandal. People who have screwed up will be held accountable.
One official resigned and another was demoted, but though Holder has turned over thousands of documents, he's refusing to turn over additional ones Republicans call key to whether the Justice Department tried to cover up its involvement.
There's some things in there that's being hidden that you don't want us to see.
There's no attempt at any kind of cover-up. We're not going to be hiding behind any kind of privileges or anything.
But Diane, now they are hiding behind executive privilege. President Obama invoking it, saying he wants members of his administration to be able to have candid conversations without Congress snooping around in their emails. Diane?
So, Jake, what is the next step in this duel?
Well, next week, the full Congress will vote. The full House will vote, expected largely on party lines, to hold the Attorney General in contempt of Congress. The charge will then go to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, and he will investigate and decide whether or not to bring criminal charges. Of course, the case could vanish there altogether.
All of this heating up there. Thank you so much, Jake.
Didn't it?
I wonder what happened with that.
Agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives provided few answers.
This is one of the saddest days
Hey,
my 6 months in
Gowdy.
Congress. It may be the saddest day.
An exasperated congressional committee is demanding to know why, in 2009 and 2010, as part of Operation Fast and Furious, U.S. government agents knowingly allowed thousands of U.S. weapons to be sold to members of Mexican drug cartels.
I was a bow.
Right.
Like, what? They put a bow in there.
How many hundreds or thousands of weapons did you allow to be purchased knowing that they were going to Mexico?
Sir, the purchase was being done by a criminal organization, a large.
But you facilitated it. You allowed it, did you not?
The intent of the 15-month operation, according to the U.S. agents, to observe cartel representatives legally buying firearms from gun stores in the state of Arizona to see where in Mexico they would end up. The U.S. agents hoped this would lead them to key figures in Mexican arms trafficking organizations. But U.S. agents failed to properly track the weapons once they left the United States, citing a lack of resources. And it wasn't until it was learned one of the guns sold was used to kill a U.S. Border Patrol agent that the program was halted.
I share responsibility for mistakes that were made in the Fast and Furious investigation. The advantage of hindsight, the benefit of a thorough review of the case, clearly points me to things that I would have done differently. We made mistakes. Clearly,
You made mistakes, but it's too late now because now there's a grieving family. Absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? One of the saddest parts, besides people losing their lives over this whole, Operation Fast and Furious, was the fact that I'm seeing people involved in this who are still elected officials to this day. Seeing people who are still in the government, still making decisions, and still operating with the same amount of power, if not more, than they had over a decade ago. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. That's the sad part, because you know that they've probably done the same kind of like under the table, underhanded deals that they did when Operation Fast and Furious was taking place.
Of course. Come on, man.
Absolutely absurd, but whatever,
Right.
man. I mean,
You see what I'm saying? And they're trying to take them from U.S. citizens.
yeah, exactly. So it said that there's a man, his name is Larry Keene, the senior vice president and general counsel of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, a trade group that represents the U.S. firearms industry, defended the manufacturers. Okay, he said, quote, Mexico should spend its time enforcing its own laws and bring Mexican criminals to justice in Mexican courtrooms instead of scapegoating the firearms industry for their unwillingness to protect Mexican citizens, end quote. He wrote on X, aka Twitter, whatever. And I was just like, bro, that is like the perfect way to end this article, because that's what needs to be done. There needs to be criminal justice reform in Mexico and not going after American gun manufacturers. You know what I mean? They need to be doing that instead of going after Americans. Even if there is some kind of illegal backdoor dealings going on where American guns are being trafficked across the border, number one, the United States needs to be doing more to look into that. But number two, if the guns are already in Mexico, it has nothing to do with America at that point. It has to do with the criminals using the guns.
Number one,
yeah.
I bet the drugs that coming from Mexico kill more people than the guns that go over there.
The drugs going into the United States kill more people in the U.S. than the guns going into
The
Mexico.
drugs themselves, not alone the guns that go with it.
Well, see, with the gun and the drug trade and the black market, there is so much money that that both parties are making
Hmm.
that like a complete and like total standstill of like trade across U.S. Mexican border, across the U.S. and Mexican border, because the guns, I guarantee you, don't stop in Mexico. They probably go all the way to South America. They go all the way, Africa,
Of course,
Europe.
because
They go over
you need
completely. Like nobody knows where they go. They go
you
everywhere,
need
man.
you need guns to protect your drugs, man. They go hand in hand. Until they
Exactly.
find some other way, if they make lasers, they're gonna use lasers.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna start using laser guns. Yeah,
You know what I mean? People
for
need to
real.
protect their profit. They need to protect their drugs. So
Yep,
they go hand in hand, man.
exactly. It's a lot
Like
going on.
until they find some other way besides guns, explosives, or whatever to protect their drugs, it's not going to change. When when the drugs go up, the gun violence go up.
And you know what? I don't think this court case that Mexico has against gun manufacturers trying to hold them liable is going to stand up in any court. I mean,
Mm-mm.
besides whatever district that it was held up in, I don't know whatever Supreme Court district it was, to be able to go to trial or whatever. I do not think that this court case is going like these manufacturers are going to be held liable because the case makes absolutely no sense. You know what I mean?
It's
It makes
stupid.
no sense,
So
and they're
are
trying to
you
call
going
it
to
a win.
charge a company that makes shoes or boots for somebody getting stumped to death?
Yeah, let's charge the shoe company. The shoe is the one that caused the concussion. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Just saying, man.
it's just not gonna work, bro. Because if they do
And like
that,
you,
if that court case won, then you'd have to hold basically everything liable. Because somebody
hmm
probably got choked out with a T-shirt. You know what I mean?
hmm
Somebody probably got killed with a golf ball. Somebody
hmm
probably got killed with a pencil. You'd have to hold every
hmm
single company liable for every bad thing that was done with an object that was
yeah,
used by a criminal. So instead
but
of holding the person liable where they should be taking
hmm
accountability away from the human and
hmm
putting it on the object that they used.
yeah, but would the gun companies be able to hold the government for the wrongful killings with the guns also?
Should we be able to hold the government liable for the wrongful killings with the guns in Fast and Furious? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not that, but in general, like Ruby Ridge, and when a shooting was deemed not right for a police officer, you know what I mean? Would they be able to charge them when the government, like Ruby Ridge was the government and the Fast and Furious and all that? Would the gun company be able to sue them, or would they have immunity?
Yeah, I mean that's an excellent point. You know what I mean? Because
You know what
and
I
and,
mean?
and put it this way. Once one of these cases gets put through and
Hmm.
the manufacturer is held liable, what's to stop the rest of the courts from holding other manufacturers liable from other killings?
Exactly.
And
But
then what's
what
to
is
stop the
stopping?
Supreme Court from or
Mhm.
the judicial branch from,
Yeah.
creating a law that absolves the human
Hmm.
from guilt and holds manufacturing liable? What's
But
to stop
what
that?
is stopping the manufacturer from suing the police and the military for killing people?
I mean, they could. It would just be a long battle back and forth of litigation.
A frivolous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, a frivolous
Frivolous.
battle of litigation.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, somebody choked on uh, somebody choked on Lego. Now I can
Yeah.
sue Lego for them choking on the Lego.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
instead of
But
like being like, oh well,
but
they shouldn't have
listen,
put the Lego in their
mhm.
mouth.
But what if the gun manufacturers put in their and that manual not to be used for criminal activity?
I'm pretty sure they do.
I don't know. Well, I haven't seen it, but you know what I mean. What if they say not to be used for criminal activity? What can they do then?
I mean, they couldn't do anything at that point. I mean,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing for Be More Botanicals. I mean, I have to put on the packages not to be sold to minors. You know what I
hmm
mean? And I have to
Maybe you
put.
should put on not to be used for bad use or whatever.
I mean, dude, before kratom was like a known thing, manufacturers could not put on. They had to put on their labels not for meant for human consumption.
Mm-hmm.
But until kratom was like pushed through, legislation in multiple states, certain states were allowed. Uh, I mean, they weren't required to put "not meant for human consumption" on their labels. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously, if you're shipping out of state, you still have to put that because it's being sold to another state.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's that kind of thing. It's like, would it
Mhm.
held? This is what I don't understand. Would it hold up in a court of law because the law says this, even though it goes against common sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. Hey, Josh. I
Yeah.
think in the beginning of this 2A Brotherhood, you should put 2A Brotherhood After Dark. Because we're talking about after dark stuff this whole episode, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. It's all after
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This is all 2A Brotherhood After Dark stuff,
Yeah,
man.
man. Early.
Oh, yeah, early after dark.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. Like, it's crazy, man. How some people are exempt. Like Percocet and all them, and I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's it. 2A Brotherhood After Dark.
I was talking about, in the beginning, you put the 2A Brotherhood. What's the name?
Yeah, I got you. I will.
Do you have a well, we don't have an intro for the 2A Brotherhood After Dark. We usually say it, don't we?
I do gotta make one though. That would be awesome.
Yeah. You want to do that tonight after we get off here, man?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, to
yeah.
to kind of go off of the whole Mexican lawsuit against the United States manufacturers, all I can say is it makes absolutely no sense to me
Right?
why they would sue gun companies for crimes happening in Mexico, even if they are with U.S. manufactured items or weapons. But why would? But I would also like to know: is Mexico suing companies like China, companies based in China for items like knives, bats, hammers, different items like
AK-47s,
that?
AK-74s,
Yeah,
ammo.
anything from China or
But
any foreign country. Are they suing countries like that? Companies in countries like that?
yeah, but why aren't we suing them for the supposed illegal medication that comes from them?
I mean, technically you could, I guess, but I mean, the drugs are probably, if they're not being okay, if they're not being manufactured in Mexico and they're being illegally cooked in like some sort of makeshift
but
laboratory, you know what I'm saying? Then there's really nobody to sue. You know what I mean? If they don't know like who the person is cooking these drugs, making fentanyl by scratch, then there's really
but
nobody
why
to
can't we
sue.
sue the? But
But you
why can't
could
we
sue
sue
the
the country?
Mexican government.
It's coming from there.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I guess with the same logic, you could sue the Mexican government for fentanyl coming across the border.
Because they're letting it come out.
But especially if you knew 100% that the fentanyl was actually being cooked in Mexico,
Yeah,
you know?
they letting it come out. Why aren't they getting sued?
I mean, you know, that's what I'm saying, man. There's so much money being made between the U.S. government and
Yeah.
Mexico with the drug mules, the cartels, the weapons, like everything, dude. The cartels are just making money off of transporting people across the border.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's why there
And
will
that's just
always
people.
be a. That's why there will always be a war on drugs. It will never end. It is too much money in it. The war on drugs will never end. If they wanted it to, they could.
The cost, okay, so in Ohio, the cost of fentanyl went from $75,000 per kilo in 2017. Okay, so yeah, so okay, now, so according to this, all right, this is, okay, to put in perspective, single kilo of fentanyl cost 500,000 lethal doses. So 1 kilogram of fentanyl can kill 500,000 people. 2 kilos would kill the entire state of Delaware.
I sent the video to the WhatsApp about that, about John Kennedy talking about that when Jelly Roll was in there.
Oh yeah. When oh yeah, did you see that thing where Jelly Roll went to Congress and testified?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the things I sent to y'all about.
It is more powerful than morphine and has a potency measured in micrograms. Even a tiny amount can be lethal, just 2 milligrams. It is unconscionable for this administration to turn a blind eye to the problem of fentanyl trafficking across the border. In the face of such a lethal threat, we need bold and decisive action, not empty rhetoric. Because the drug cartels don't care about party politics, they only care about making money. And that money is coming from the pockets of our fellow Americans suffering from addiction. This isn't just a problem for border states like Texas and Arizona. It's a threat to every community in America. It's sold on the street corners in small towns and big cities. It is killing our friends, our neighbors, and our loved ones. We must secure the borders to disrupt the drug cartels. We cannot tacitly allow fentanyl and other deadly drugs to continue to flow into our communities and destroy the lives of our citizens. Every pill of fentanyl is a potential killer. Every shipment of fentanyl is a ticking time bomb. And every life lost to fentanyl is a tragedy. We owe it to ourselves, our families, and our communities to tackle this problem and to do everything in our power to stamp out the scourge of this drug in American communities. This was fentanyl, Madam President, fentanyl. Who is this? Oh, Mike Lee, senator, Utah senator. A senator in Utah said those things that I just read. That was his speech to cheap, addictive, responsible. Okay, yeah. So yeah, very interesting, man. I'm gonna go ahead and use the bathroom one more time, and then if you want, we can get back into the Yada to Me's, and then.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it doing them. We can do what we need to do.
All right, I'm gonna pull up the winter lo-fi music again. Zax. You remember Zax?
Mm-hmm.
Yo. Hey, yo. Yo. Welcome back. All righty. So that was a good conversation we had about the U.S. Appeals Court and the wait. It was a good conversation all day. Very good conversation. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Squidward.
So when will the lies stop
Whenever you wanted to.
with the government? I wanted it to stop years ago.
Oh, when the lies?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah, the lies will stop as soon as Christ returns and Satan is thrown into the pit.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait.
There will be no more tears, no more pain, no more suffering, no more well, there will be one more war, but yeah, it's gonna be a wild one, man. Can't wait. Hey yo,
Mm-hmm.
check this out, bro.
That keeps you humble in your life. The Lord, I give him all his praise, the glory, the honor, because without him, I could have been doing anything, like it's crazy, I be thinking about it, talking to him throughout the day, like, man, appreciate you, I thank you. Because you feel like you're bigger than the Lord, that's when all that success it go away. You gotta let him know, like, he the reason like you having that much success. So I appreciate that from him. And I got my family around, my teammates, great teammates, coaching staff. We just gotta keep it going and let the Lord know he the number one.
Gotta stay grounded, man.
The Lord, I give him all his praise, the glory, the honor, because without him, I could have been doing anything, like it's crazy, I be thinking about it, talking to him throughout the day, like, man, appreciate you, I thank you. Because you feel like you're bigger than the Lord, that's when all that success it go away. You gotta let him know, like, he the reason like you having that much success. So I appreciate that from him. And I got my family around, my teammates, great teammates, coaching staff. We just gotta keep it going and let the Lord know he the number one.
He number one.
Seemed like he was raised right.
He's number one, man. The Lord is number one.
Yo,
Here's another one.
what was the name of that? What was the name of that lady, that white lady that wanted to be black?
Oh, I forget.
You remember her, man?
Yeah.
Why is the Black Christ such a controversial issue and an offensive issue?
Because in order to,
Not only for Caucasians, even for black people.
yes, in order to rule us, in order to dominate us, they had to give us their image. Because if they taught the slaves, you have a king, and he looks like you, and he's coming back, what would we do? We would unite, we would revolt. They said you could never teach them this, never. Always give them slave religion. That's what you've got throughout South Africa. That's what you got in America. That's what you got in Jamaica, Haiti, worldwide. Every religion is false.
Shocking, right? Well, if you want the full video, comment, share, and I'll send a...
How dumb is that, dude?
Hey,
How
it never
dumb.
says what color God is.
Dude.
Well, it kind of said he was fair skinned. You know what I mean?
Well, so when it comes to Jesus, I mean, obviously,
sorry.
so let's put it a couple ways. You could put it a couple different,
Jesus.
two different ways. Okay.
Mhm.
Number one, Jesus living in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look at the people who live in Israel, the color of their skin. Okay. That's number
I don't
one.
care what color he is, man.
Okay. Number two, look at you could put it a different way. Maybe the climate was different, 2,000 years ago when Jesus was living on the earth. Okay. He could have been darker. Who knows? Nobody really knows for sure. Except for the people who were alive during the time and saw Jesus physically. Does it matter? No, it means absolutely nothing. Okay. That was his physical form. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just what he looked like on earth as a result of him being born of a virgin and he only having DNA from one parent,
I
God.
don't care what color he was. I don't care what color Jesus was. I don't care what color God is.
It makes no difference what color Jesus was.
No, I'm just saying any of them. I don't care.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you're really going to spend all your time focusing on what color skin Jesus was,
Right.
what color skin God
You-
has, then you've completely misunderstood the whole point of the Bible, the whole point of Jesus's ministry on earth and, saving mankind.
Like, you think I see you as a color or anybody else? I don't care about your color. I care
Yeah,
about
don't
what's in your
matter.
heart. I care about your you know. I care about your personality and all of that. I don't care about what color you are, man.
Yeah,
It
it makes
doesn't
no
matter.
difference.
It's bad white people, it's bad black people, it's bad orange people, green people, whatever, man. I don't care. I care about the content of your heart.
That's a great point. It's about the heart, the spirit. You know what I mean? It's not about the skin color.
Personality, your heart, what you do, what I see you do, That's why I don't fuck with many people, man. I don't mess with a lot of people, man. I mess with the people I know that's cool and they do for me what I do for them.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, New King James Version. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? It's the soul, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit.
Like I said, yeah. I don't care your color or whatever. I don't care if you're a man or woman or whatever. When you show something to me that lets me know that you ain't reliable, you ain't, there for me. If you ain't doing for me what I'm willing to do for you, I don't care. It doesn't matter about color, man, sex or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're getting cut off, man.
So in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 40, it says, this is the New King James Version also. Matthew chapter 5, verse 40. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. So the way I see it is, man, like when it comes to everything that I've learned and that I know about the Word of God is always about being humble. you know, mostly is about being humble. Um, I think God knew for a fact that times would be different following his son coming to the earth. And I feel like having humbleness is such in short supply in the world that we live in today. You know,
But
people are not humble. People do not have like meekness. They're not like, okay, I'm going to put myself in someone else's shoes and I'm going to look at the world through their perspective instead of like uh coming at coming at them, looking
yeah,
at them, with looking down on them and attacking them, and
but
it's just like,
but
you know
do do you see someone telling the truth as being cocky or whatever if they're telling you the truth?
so like if somebody's telling you the truth, you're asking me if that's being cocky?
Yeah, like even if
No.
somebody say I can do this or whatever, like telling you the truth, what they know they can do, but being humble at the same time. But people see, you know, you being humble, but you telling what you can do as being cocky.
No, I think there's okay, so I think there's a time, like the Bible says, there's a time to be like I couldn't find the exact verse, but I know that the Bible
hmm
says something along the lines of there's a time for uh you know rebuke, and there's a time for like consoling. There's a time
hmm
for war and there's a time for peace. There's a time
hmm
for all these different things. And when you come into contact with somebody, uh it's important to use, or not use, but it's important to be attentive to the Holy Spirit and learn how you should react to a certain person. If
hmm
the person is not going to respond positively to a certain emotion, or reproach or forgiveness or love or gratitude, or forgiveness or grace or love, then you should do the antithesis of that. You know what I mean? So it's a case by case basis. you
hmm
know so if somebody is not going to respond to you, uh forgiving them, then maybe they need to hear some tough love. You know what I mean? you know
hmm But
so
what if someone doubts you?
if somebody doubts you, then uh maybe you pray to the Holy Spirit. You say, look, give me the words to say, give me the knowledge and the wisdom, and let your will be done. Even if it's not done at that exact moment, it'll be done in due time, because we plant the seeds, somebody waters, and God provides the growth.
hmm
If somebody doubts you, who was it Hezekiah? I believe. um I believe. Okay, so here it is in the Bible. uh in the book of Second Kings. Okay, here we have Elijah's message to Ahab. And it came to pass after many days that the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, go present yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain on the earth. Elijah was present himself to Ahab, and there was severe famine in Samaria. And Ahab called Obadiah, who was in charge of the house. Um, and so it goes on to say here, Elijah, let me find it here. So, verse 20, this is 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 20. So Ahab sent for all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together on Mount Carmel. And Elijah came to all the people and said, quote, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. End quote. But the people answered him not a word. Then Elijah said to the people, I alone am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. So you have Elijah, who represents God, and he is by himself, but you have 450 prophets, or 450 men who are prophets of Baal. Verse 23, therefore let them give us 2 bulls, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it. And I will prepare the other bull, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it. Then you call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord, and the God who answers by fire. He is God. So all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. Now Elijah said, the prophets of Baal, choose 1 bull for yourself and prepare it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your God, but put no fire under it. So they took the bull which was given them and prepared it, and called on the name of Baal for morning, evening till noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, no one answered. Then they leaped about the altar which they had made. And so it was noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he is sleeping and must be awakened. So they cried aloud and cut themselves, and it was their custom, with knives and lances, until the blood gushed out of them. And when midday was past, they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, but there was no voice, no one answered, and no one paid attention. So before I continue, as you can see here, the people who were worshiping Baal prayed, they chanted, they worshiped, and they even cut themselves with knives, and I guess offered their blood to get Baal to send fire on the wood for the burnt offering of the bull. Okay, so in verse 30, then Elijah said to all the people, come near to me. So all people came near to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord has come, saying, Israel shall be your name. Then, with the sayas of seed, he put the wood in order, cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood, and said, fill 4 water pots with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. And then he said, do it a second time. And they did it a second time. And he said, do it a third time. And they did it a third time. So the water ran all around the altar, and he also filled the trench with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that you are the Lord God, and that you have turned their hearts back to you again. Then fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. Now when the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. And Elijah said to them, seize the prophets of Baal. Do not let them escape. So they seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and executed them there. And then the drought, it says the drought ends. So, to your point, about, when people doubt you, have the faith like Elijah had, and he prepared the burnt offering and said, hey, fire is going to come down from heaven. And then fire came down from heaven. You know what I mean? So have the faith that Elijah had if people doubt you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I could say. That's all I could say, man. And the faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. And if you've ever seen a mustard seed, it's very, very tiny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so have the faith of Elijah and put to shame, like it says here in 2 Timothy, you have or sorry, not 2 Timothy, 1 Kings, you have a group of over 400 men who are servants of Baal, a false god. And then you have Elijah who stands on his own. He's the only person who's standing for God. Like the Bible says, he uses the small to put to shame the big, the great and the mighty.
Mm-hmm.
He uses the weak things to put to shame the strong. That's why I think that like being humble is such a very important being humble is such an important prospect, very important having that perspective of humility is super important to to understanding God and the kind of the different how do you put it, the characteristics of God, being humble, being lowly, and not trying to like elevate yourself over other people, not trying to like be like, oh well, I'm way better than you, or whatever, and not trying to flaunt your greatness or your wealth or whatever. So I mean,
Hey Josh,
yeah,
I'm mad tired, man. I'm probably on taking it kind of early today.
okay, no problem. I will probably see if I can find some good clips and make a after dark intro / outro. So I'll let you know tomorrow. I do have some stuff to do in the morning, but I'm gonna try and get a couple, maybe an hour or so of work in before I go to bed. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thanks for hanging out, man. It was a good podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Having you, you're a member.
I know, I'm just playing.
You're one of the founding members.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, that was a good podcast. I enjoyed that.
was,
We got
that
some
was
good
awesome.
clips too, man. We got some really good clips. I know you and I both went off on some rants, so we can make some good clips from this one. I couldn't make clips from last week because for some reason I couldn't. It wouldn't pull up on Riverside. So I mean, because I really wanted to show that thing that from Austin's his wife's parents, with the apartment burning down, and I felt
The
so bad
Riverside
because
was
I was just like,
Democrat.
huh?
The Riverside was Democrat. I'm playing.
Yeah, I felt bad because I was just like, man, I really wanted to share that, but hopefully, if Austin can come on tomorrow and we can do another clip for that, because I really want people to, hopefully they'll donate to his wife's parents. But yeah, so let me go ahead and play this outro, and then we can call on tonight.
All right, my Nate.
All right, bruh.
Once you get into that, you start getting into a situation, the slippery slope, where all of a sudden you're going to really violate the Second Amendment. I don't want to do anything to violate the Second Amendment. To me, the Second Amendment is very important.
All right. Thank you all for watching.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, God bless
Love
you all.
you.
Hopefully, maybe we'll see you tomorrow. If not, we'll see you next Friday.
Subscribe.
Alrighty, guys. Love you. Take care.
Love you.
All right, brother.
All right.
See you soon. Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you, bud.